Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Isabel.
Dr. June.
So we have with us today a special guest, Dr. Gerald Pollack, and he's a scientist recognized worldwide as a dynamic speaker and author. His work centers on investigating water's fourth phase, exclusion zone, easy water, and he's going to explain a little bit about that. He also received the first Emoto Peace Prize, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
It's my great pleasure to be here with you, and I'm sorry for the lighting here. I'm not in my usual place, and, so if I appear slightly dark, at least the background is bright and beautiful.
Well, all the listeners appreciate your knowledge and experts and information to share. So this is where you're for to help people, empowered to recognize their health and well-being. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
So what I'd like to ask you, number one is what is the nature of the fourth phase easy water? What is it? So this is where the most really dynamic question we want to ask.
Yeah, okay. So what is the fourth phase of water? Well, everybody's heard of three phases of water, ice, liquid, and vapor. And we found a fourth phase, and this fourth phase is not simply a laboratory curiosity. It's all over the place. In fact, it fills our bodies, and the way you can kind of demonstrate that it fills your body. Most people think that our cells are filled with liquid water, and if that were the case, if you cut yourself, that water would come pouring out. But it doesn't come pouring out. At least in my case, it doesn't. I'm not sure about your case, but it doesn't come pouring out. And so it's not exactly a liquid. And in fact, it's like a gel that sticks to the solids inside and outside your cells. So it doesn't come pouring out. It sticks in. This is the fourth phase, and that's not how we discovered it. But it's just one of the, shall we say, pieces of evidence that your body is not filled with ordinary liquid water, like water in this glass. So what is it? Well, it's a kind of water where the molecules of the water are organized in a particular way. In ordinary liquid water, like what I'm drinking right now and need to drink more, the molecules of water are randomly oriented, and they're bouncing around at a furious number of times each second, or even each femtosecond. That's liquid water. At least that's what most scientists think about the structure of liquid water. But this is completely different. This water is structured, so to speak. That's structured is an old term. It's not a great term. It means there's some kind of order in it. It's not randomly, the molecules are not randomly bouncing about. What happens is you can see this kind of water, you can detect it, or I should say we detected it when you have a material that's hydrophilic, that is water loving. You take a container of water containing also little particles like spheres. We use microspheres, and you immerse this solid, this hydrophilic water-loving solid, in the water. What happens is that right next to this solid, the water that is adjacent to it undergoes a transformation from liquid water to this fourth phase water, or we call it exclusion zone or EZ, because what happens is that the microspheres, the particles, are excluded. As this zone of water grows, it's transformed chemically from what was previously just water, and now is EZ, exclusion zone, fourth phase water. And it's not just a single molecular layer that grows, it's many molecular layers. We've, for example, seen in certain extreme cases up to on the order of 1 million molecular layers that can grow. And the properties of this water are completely different from the properties of ordinary water. As I mentioned, this is gel-like. It's highly viscous, and to our surprise, we found that the water is typically negatively charged. It's not neutral like ordinary water, and the region beyond this negatively charged water is positively charged water. So the way it occurs is that energy comes into the system, breaks each water molecule into OH minus and H plus. And the OH minuses gather to form this EZ water, fourth phase water. This is the fourth phase. And the positive H plus get shoved into the ordinary bulk water beyond. And so you have what's like a battery, because EZ is negative, and sitting next to it is positive. And if you put two electrodes, and you actually can get energy from this water, and this energy is available and freely usable. It's one of the sort of, you might say, practical outcomes of this finding. And the same thing occurs inside your body, because inside your body are many, many hydrophilic surfaces, water-loving surfaces, surfaces that are charged. And the water right next to it undergoes this transformation from ordinary liquid water to EZ water, or fourth phase water, depending on how you like to call it. The two are the same. EZ is short for exclusion zone, because it excludes. And
this is something very interesting, and it's amazing, this discovery of the fourth phase of water. So how do you think this will change the awareness of science?
Well, that's a really good question, and actually it's a rather deep question. But sometimes we think that science is moving very, very quickly, because you see a lot of headlines, this promising finding here and this exciting finding here. But sometimes those promising findings are little more than public relations that come from the university where the finding took place. And more often than not, this finding promises to shed light on so-and-so, but we're not really so interested in promising to shed light. We're interested in real discoveries. And if you think about it, if I were to ask you, for example, if I were to ask you, can you name a half dozen fundamental scientific breakthroughs, like scientific revolutions that have occurred in the past 30 or 40 years? I don't mean technological revolutions, like my laptop computer or iPhone or whatever. I mean fundamental scientific discoveries, equivalent, for example, to the splitting of the atom, or the genetic code. Genetic code was in the mid-1950s, so we're talking 65, 70 years, and the splitting of the atom was 10 years before that. But since then, let's say the past 30, 40 years, what can you name? What scientific breakthrough can you name? And I challenge you, and I think your response is going to be, well, I'm not sure. And so we're lacking the kinds of scientific breakthroughs these days that we need to ultimately solve our problems in the world, to lead to technologies that we could never have dreamed of before that will help solve the world's problems. They're not occurring. Why are they not occurring? Well, they're not occurring because of the way science is done today. If you were to try to engage in a scientific project, you need money. Can't do it without money. It was easier 100 years ago because some of the scientists either came from wealthy families, they didn't need a lot of money, or they had a benefactor who thought, just do what you want, you're free to do it, to follow your imagination. No problem. But that's not the way it is right now.
For the future application of this easy water to the healing, so for us is really health and wellness, how you can promote, healing effect. How would you apply what your discovery to application of that?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, and there are indeed direct applications to human health. So what we found earlier, I've written a few books on the subject, and the first book on this subject was called Cells, Gels, and the Engines of Life. And in that book, one of the main themes in that book was that the way cells work is that if a cell is in the shall we say quiescent state, it's not doing any work, not doing its thing. The muscle cell is not contracting; it's in a relaxed state. A nerve cell is not conducting impulses or information. It's just sitting there relaxed, etc. In that case, all the water in the cell, almost all the water, is easy water, structured water. At the time, we didn't know easy water. This was 2001. And so what happens is the cell undergoes a transition from its resting state to its active state, and then back to its resting state. And this transition involves the water. So the water is initially sitting in the structured state. It undergoes a transition, you might say a phase transition, from this ordered state to ordinary liquid water, and then back again. So it undergoes this cycle. So in order for this cycle to occur, you need to have a sufficient amount of easy water in your cell. If you don't have it, you can't go through the cycle. And if you can't go through the cycle, it means the cell is not operating, it's not functioning properly. So in a muscle cell, for example, you might find that after a contraction, the muscle has an inability to come back to the relaxed state, to build up the easy water. Once again, that's just one example. So the bottom line is that your cells need to be filled with easy water. And if your cells are not filled with easy water, then your cells can't function properly. Any cell, it doesn't matter which cell. And so what you want to do in order to promote health is to build up a sufficient amount of fourth phase water in your cell. Essentially, your cells need to be filled with it. And when they're not filled with it, the cell is not functioning properly. So in order to be healthy, or at least one feature of health is having enough easy water in your body. And there are a half dozen different ways in which that can be achieved. And they're not complicated ways, they're actually fairly simple ways of doing it. And if you'd like, I can, you would like. Okay, yeah.
That's a great tip to the listener.
Yes, we would
like okay, so.
And then before we continue, can you please tell me, is it possible? So yes, we do have easy water surrounding our cells. Is that correct?
Not only surrounding, but inside too. There are a lot of really simple ways to do it. The simplest is to drink a lot of water, because when you drink the water is actually converted into easy water. And so most of us are dehydrated, myself included. You're too young to be dehydrated. But, as you get a bit long in the tooth, it's easier to become dehydrated. That's why, for example, there are wrinkles on my skin, and it's because we're dehydrated. So we need to drink enough to rehydrate our cells, and this rehydration is really filling the cell with easy water. So this is the easiest way, just to keep drinking. Second one, drink water from plants. So I think you're aware of the juicing, the idea. Yeah, so my late wife used to do it. We used to, I wouldn't say enjoy it, but because the flavor is not great, but we did it. You take the plant and squeeze the water out, and then drink the water. And the water is the water from inside new, fresh plant cells. And it's just filled with easy water. So you squeeze, you get the water, you drink the water, and you're directly imparting this water to your cells. You see, and so, and the reports I've heard from various health practitioners who do this is that it really works. It doesn't matter what your problem is. You drink the water from the plants, and in a few months you're better. And for some people who want to lose weight, apparently you lose weight as well. So it's cool, and you know, and it seems to work.
Can I ask you, is that juicing, like a squeezing versus the blending, you know, the mixer, is that the same thing or different?
No, it's different, and the reason for squeezing instead of blending, if you're blending, you've got everything, and you've got everything, your stomach fills up pretty quickly. If you have only the juice and get rid of the solids, which is what these machines do, if you drink only the water, not the solids, then it doesn't fill your stomach so easily. So you can drink more of it that way. And it makes sense to me. You know, you get a higher dose and you get better more quickly. So anyway, so that's a
two ways then. So drinking more water and drinking fresh vegetable or fruit juice, correct? Or more
freshly squeezed, right, yeah. It's mostly vegetables. I'm not sure about the fruits, but perhaps they work just as well. If you know Dr. Mercola, he praises this as the simplest expedient you can do to build health. And I think the way it builds health is you're supplying easy water directly to your body, to your cells. And so when cells are not filled with it, they get filled by this process, and you become healthy again. So that's the second. A third is, well, sunshine. Why sunshine? So you as Seattleites know very well that in the wintertime we don't see the sun too often. And when the sun comes out, people feel happy. Why do they feel happy? Well, one reason they feel happy, or they may feel happy, is a psychological one, and that may well be true, but there's an additional one. You see, what I didn't tell you is that the energy for building this easy water comes from infrared light. Infrared, not visible light, longer wavelength, infrared light. You shine infrared light on the water and the hydrophilic solid, and whatever easy you have grows tremendously. So this is the energy that is responsible. When the sun comes out, of course, we think of the sun as light mostly, but it's light and heat. And the heat is essentially infrared energy. So roughly half of the sun's energy reaching the earth is infrared energy, right? And so when the sun comes out, suddenly, you know, you've got this infrared energy that's bombarding you. And the infrared energy is great. It builds easy water. And so a reason that you feel good may be psychological. Another one is that it penetrates your skull. And you go back to the default state, which is a happy state. So fourth one is related to that, and it's also a kind of Scandinavian thing, and that is a sauna, or as they say, sauna. Why is that? Well, it is that because it's heat, and heat is equivalent to infrared, effectively, essentially. And you get into the sauna, take off your clothes, expose yourself to this heat, intense heat, whether it's dry heat or whether it's moist heat, is not so important. It's the heat. And the heat is you're exposed to it, and the heat essentially brings infrared energy. So when you expose yourself, your whole body, to massive amounts of infrared energy, you're going to get massive growth of easy water. And therefore, this, I would surmise, is a reason why invariably you feel better when you get out of the sauna than when you went into it, because easy water is building up throughout your whole body, grounding yourself or earthing yourself, connecting yourself to the earth. Mm-hmm. I think a fair number of people do this on a regular basis. They connect themselves. One example is like walking on the beach barefoot near the water. You're connecting yourself electrically to the earth. And usually most of us feel better when we do that. You know, we enjoy walking, we feel good. And you know, in Asia, especially in Japan, mud baths. I'm not sure about Korea, other places, but you know, so why is this? Well, it works. You can find many testimonials about this, but why does it work? And there are many theories. I think it works because you're connecting yourself electrically to the earth. Now, if you connect yourself electrically to this vast sea of negative charge, what happens is the negative charge will run into your body. You're electrically connected, and where you don't have enough negative charge from easy water, this will supply it. And we found in the laboratory, if you take water and we add negative charge, it becomes easy water. So I think the explanation for the beneficial effect of grounding or earthing is simply connecting electrically, allowing that charge to run into your body, that negative charge, create easy water. Going into the forest, and I just want to say one thing about George Washington. You know, famous story about our first president. He was a bit of a hypochondriac, and he brought his physician with him wherever he went. And one day he was not feeling very well, and he explained to his physician, and his physician said, well, okay, solution to the problem is very simple, just hug a tree. And, you know, you think, well, that's ridiculous. Why would hugging a tree make a difference? And I think it may have to do with the fact that the tree has a lot of negative charge, more than us, because the electrical potential of the cells of plants, instead of being minus 50 to minus 100, it's often minus 100 to minus 200 millivolts, more negative than we are. And so if you hug the tree, the negative charge from the tree can be imparted into your body. In this easy water, there's great capacity to store information. And it has to do with the fact that the easy water is ordered to start with, and that among the hydrogens and oxygens, the oxygens can actually occupy 5 different states. An ordinary computer memory, each transistor in the ordered array can occupy 2 states, but in this case it's 5 states. So in theory, the information density is it's not 5 over 2. It turns out, if you do the calculation, it's something like 10 million. I can't remember the exact number. A huge information density. And so you have it, if you have easy water in your body, you have a huge capacity in your body to store information. And I think the person who demonstrated that best is Luc Montagnier, who won a Nobel Prize for discovering HIV, and he's been studying water for the past decade and information exchange in water, especially in DNA. So all of this is very, very exciting, and I don't remember what the original question was, but I've been sort of looping through. Oh yeah, walking in the forest, and why does it feel good? There are, I'm sure, other reasons. The negative charge that comes from the plants and the leaves, some of that may be generated electromagnetically, and we receive it, and so that's a simple explanation. So for many reasons, you go to the forest and you feel better, and which reminds me that I should be walking in the forest more frequently. We have a lot here in Seattle.
Do you think that having more easy water will protect our body from virus, bacteria infection?
Well, probably because we found we found that easy water excludes viruses and bacteria. So if our cells are full of this, there may be some increased tendency to keep those villains from invading our households. Again, no clear evidence on this, but based on all we've learned, it seems a reasonable speculation that that's the case. I hope so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your perceptive questions, and much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.